Well, I finally did it. After 2 years of making mediocre aviation videos, I've at long last hit 1,000 subscribers. To celebrate this milestone, I've decided to go back and redo one of my favorite and most unusual trip reports with Azerbaijan Airlines. This flight from New York to Baku was the first trip report that I ever made, so the quality was pretty terrible. I mean, not like my editing is any good now, but it's definitely better than it was. As part of my business class ticket, I was granted entry into the Air France lounge in JFK's Terminal 1. There was talk that this route would be suspended in 2019, but Azerbaijan Airlines decided to maintain this service through 2020, although it has since come to a halt because of the pandemic. You can just see the Dreamliner that I'll be flying on in this shot. I don't know about you, but I think this airline has one of the coolest liveries in the industry. As I was walking down the jet bridge, I really didn't know what to expect. I barely knew anything about Azerbaijan, let alone their flag carrier. As soon as I got on board, I realized there was nothing to worry about. This Dreamliner has a similar 222 configuration to what you'll see on board Air India and Kenya Airways 787s. It's not the most modern, but it's comfortable enough. With my mint lemonade in hand, I began to settle in for this long flight. The weather was pretty lousy as we began to make our way out to the runway, but looking back on this footage, I was happy to see that I captured some images of this Fly Jamaica 767. This airline ceased operations in 2019. Azerbaijan Air offers a nice variety of amenities in business class. Each passenger received one of these blankets, as well as a bundle that contained a pair of pajamas and additional bedding. Overall, I was really impressed with the presentation. I was also pleasantly surprised with the amenity kit. I filmed this again because my original footage was bad, but you can see here how jam-packed this thing was with everything you could ever need for a long flight. A pair of noise-canceling headphones was handed out. I prefer my Bose headphones, but it was still a nice gesture. Speaking of nice gestures, they also handed out candy and a wine menu. As I mentioned before, this cabin isn't the most modern, and having someone sitting next to you isn't ideal, but as I began to explore the seat a bit more, it started to grow on me. In the armrest, you can find a universal outlet, a water bottle holder, and some USB plugs. The reading light is adjustable and it works well. The tray table pulls out from the side here. It's a little hard to get out, but you get the idea. When you press this button, the armrest turns into a little privacy divider. You also have extra storage under the footrest. Azerbaijan Airlines really nailed the soft product on this flight. The meal service began shortly after we reached cruising altitude. The flight attendants brought out the appetizers on a little trolley, and I opted for the meze platter and a seafood salad. Everything was neatly presented on a white tablecloth, and I really loved the bread baskets that were handed out. I ordered pasta for my main, and I promised that it tasted much better than it looked. Once the meals had been cleared away, the windows were dimmed and the cabin lights were turned off. There were 2 lavatories in the business class cabin, but only one was open. I'm guessing the crew closed the second one since this flight was so empty. There weren't any special amenities inside, but it was kept clean for the entire flight. We left JFK at 11:30 in the morning, so I wasn't really tired. But it was still nice to turn my seat into a bed and watch some TV. The screen on the IFE system was pretty big, and I was also really surprised at the wide variety of entertainment options available. The touchscreen did have a major lag though, which was annoying, so I'd recommend using the controller to go through your options. Midway through the flight, a snack was served, and the flight attendant was more than happy to give me extras. One thing's for sure about this airline, you definitely won't go hungry. As we got closer to Baku, the onboard feast continued with a 2-course breakfast, and of course, the flight attendants gave you as much food as you wanted. The scenery as we approached Baku was beautiful, and I was lucky enough to travel outside of the capital and into the mountains a few days later. If you haven't considered it before, then you should definitely think about taking a trip to Azerbaijan. Although the cabin wasn't as luxurious as some other carriers, flying with Azerbaijan Airlines was a pleasant surprise, and it turned out to be one of my favorite flights. The route between New York and Baku was Azerbaijan Airlines' only service to North America, and there's still no word on whether it will return after the pandemic. If it does though, I'm gonna do my best to try and fly on it again. It was just such a cool experience. After spending a few days in Azerbaijan, I flew from the beautiful airport in Baku to Istanbul aboard one of Azerbaijan Airlines' 767s, but this time I was in economy. I didn't film it, but it was also a nice flight. Anyway, thanks for your support in helping me reach 1,000 subscribers. And let me know below what's the most unique airline you've ever flown with.